for tuning in. I wanted to remind you of our Road to 1,000 Subscribers giveaway that we have going on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe and have a public profile, you'll be entered to win a free RX Smart Gear original jump rope. You'll get to pick the pattern of the handles, the color and weight of the cable, and you'll be getting one of the best-selling, best-performing jump ropes out there. Every time we hit a new century mark with the number of subscribers to our channel, we'll randomly select a new winner. And our friend Dave Newman is going to throw in a little something extra for each winner. So a special thanks to our sponsor, RX Smart Gear, to Dave Newman for being such a great partner, and to you for being a loyal listener. Good luck, and I hope you are our next winner.
Hey, everyone. I got a secret to tell you. There's this really cool company out there called Element 26. We have partnered with them, and they have some of the coolest equipment on the market for us CrossFitters, lifters, strongmen. So one of the products they have is thumb tape. It is like the best thumb tape on the market. It is flexible and it moves with you. And it is very tacky and sticky. So great thumb tape. Another one of the products that I use and I love are their grips. They are chalkless grips. They are rubberized. And I'm a Clydesdale, right? I'm big. This helps me stick to the bar. I don't move. I can hang for a very long time as a big man with these on my hands. Great for farmer's carries. Even my hands are big enough. I can even use these on a barbell if I want to deadlift. Just saying. No chalk, super sticky. Gotta love them. Their website is element26.co. That is element26.co. Go check them out. So many cool products. We're going to keep showing you what they have over the next few weeks, but you have got to check this place out because they are constantly innovating and see what they have to offer. Little hint, check out the belts. They got a really cool concept with the belts. You know that Velcro that always pops? They have a solution. So go check that out. Element26.co. Element26.co. Trust me, you'll have fun with this. All right. What is going on, everyone? We are here with our special friend, Taylor Streid, and she is 2019 CrossFit Games athlete, individual, and she also went on a team. She qualified in 2020, wasn't able to go, and then qualified again in 2021, did get to go. And so we're just going to kind of talk about where she came from, what got her into CrossFit, what got her into the profession that she's in, and kind of what her future looks like and things she's doing today. So Taylor, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, I met Taylor in a very bizarre way.
Yeah.
In 2018, she is the first athlete I ever judged at the regional level.
Yeah. Which is funny because Teddy brought that story up to me and I was like, I hadn't put like 2 and 2 together yet. And he's like, I talked to this guy, he's, Clydesdale podcast. And I'm like, he looks familiar. He's like, he judged you at regionals. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, he was my bench press judge. He was like, yeah.
So actually I was your deadlift judge.
Oh, okay.
And then
you're my spotter.
And I was your spotter for the bench press.
Yeah.
And so I think I saved your life at least.
You had to save me, I think 3 times. I'm pretty sure. One of them, I was like halfway up and I'm like, help.
Well, the thing, you were killing that workout. Like you were doing so well. And I think you just went to a point of where the bench press went away.
Oh yeah.
And because you were killing your heat. Like you were so far in front.
No, I was never that far in front.
Really?
No, I was like with the pack. But the funny thing about that workout, so it was right after that 333. So we did that 333 and I did really well in that workout. I think I got like 7th in that one. And I had like the quickest turnaround. So I had to turn around and do that workout with like, I don't know, say like an hour rest or something. And that 333 killed me. And so when I tested, because you could test all the workouts for regionals, when I tested that workout, I never tested 333 that close to it. And so it was like, when I got there, I had this whole strategy that was going to be great. I'd done, Linda twice or whatever. And then I got there and that 333 just, annihilated me. And so that was actually, I think I got like 32nd in that workout. It was not good. But yes, the bench press killed me. That was not good. And
So-
yeah, that was
So
rough.
here's a little unknown fact from my perspective. I was 2 weeks away from back surgery.
Mhm.
So my biggest fear was that I would actually have to lift the barbell off of somebody
Yeah.
and hope that my back held up. But thank goodness, like when you're missing, it's only because you like are a fraction weaker.
Yeah, you
and you're
just
still
need a
pushing
little
on
bit
the
of help.
bar. I
Yeah.
just had to assist you to the rack.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a thing I was super worried about. And when you first dropped, I was like, oh gosh, here we go.
You're like, oh, is this going to be the rest of the workout?
So
But
Taylor,
Oh.
what was your athletic background growing up? Like before, like what did you get into as a kid and past that?
So I did everything. My parents are great. Anything I wanted to try, I tried. I quickly learned that ball sports were not my thing. So like basketball, I played in like sixth grade, sat on the bench the whole year. So that was off the list. Volleyball, our team was terrible and I was terrible. So like I swam year round. I guess starting in like 7th or 8th grade, but I swam every summer and I really enjoyed that. And so when you start to look at like high school sports and stuff, I kind of started to get more serious about swimming. But then I also I tumbled. I didn't do gymnastics. I just did like the floor. So I can still flip and everything, but I can't do bars, beam, vault, any of that. And then so I got into cheered in high school as well. And then I also pole vaulted in high school. So.
And where did you grow up? Like what city?
I'm from Peoria, Illinois. So halfway between Chicago and St. Louis, just kind of hanging out in the middle of Illinois. So.
And then you actually went to college and did swimming in college. Is that correct?
Yes. So I swam at SLU, St. Louis University, for 4 years, and then immediately was looking for something new and kind of fell into CrossFit. So
While you were in college, you fell into CrossFit?
when I was done swimming. So I guess, yeah, like the last like 2 months of college, I would try to get into running because I was like, oh, it's easy, just go out the door. But I really enjoyed weightlifting in college, and I enjoyed like being in the weight room and learning the Olympic lifts and, doing, pull-ups and all of that kind of stuff. So I was running and I was like, this sucks. I was like, at least swimming, you have 4 different strokes, you can change it up. Like running, you do the same thing over and over again. And so that's when someone was like, I think you should try like this new thing. It's called CrossFit. They have this intro class at this gym. Like, why don't you just go test it out? And so I did that probably like end of April, my senior year. And the workout was like 50, 40, 20 or 30, 20, 10. And the last 10 was pull-ups, and I could do pull-ups, and people are like, where did you come from? Like, you've never done CrossFit before. And I was like, growing up swimming, and especially in a collegiate level, everyone can do a pull-up. So I was just like, why can't they do pull-ups? Like, that's not a big deal to me. But yeah, so then people were like, oh, like immediately kind of took an interest in me just because I had these kind of skills already. So
when you were a pole vaulter, how long did you do that?
I only did that for 2 years. So for Illinois, swimming's in the fall. I cheered basketball, so that was a winter sport. And then in the spring, like I love swimming, but I didn't want to do it year round. I mean, I did it year round, but I didn't want to be like super committed year round. And so I did that like my freshman, sophomore year. And I honestly just kind of was like, I'm just not really having fun. So I wanted to do a different sport. So I was only swimming like 2 or 3 days a week instead. So I got into track, and the track coach immediately like saw my shoulders and was like, I think you should try pole vaulting. Just like a lot of high school girls don't have an upper body like that's developed. So he kind of got me into that, and I enjoyed it. And my junior year, I was terrible. We didn't have a pit yet, which is like the big pads that you like go over the mat and land on, or over the bar and land on. So I learned how to pole vault in a long jump pit, like just put your pole in the sand and hope it doesn't slide. Yeah, real safe. Yeah. But then my senior year, we got pits, and we actually like did some stuff in the fall a little bit. And so actually my senior year, I hit state qualifying height, but I didn't go, but it's kind of cool.
So I've heard other pole vaulters say that it really helps them with body awareness.
Yes.
In life. And did you feel that as well?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, I tumbled, so I kind of had that body awareness already. But I think already having that, because like I said, I didn't do it for that long. So, but already having that body awareness definitely helped me be a better pole vaulter for sure. And it also, I mean, you learn I guess like I didn't even think of this before, but going back, you learn like the arch hollow, like you're arched in a position, then you have to hollow out, which really probably translates over to all the CrossFit gymnastics as well. So yeah.
And then what did you swim?
In college, I was a 200 swimmer. High school, like I said, I didn't swim super serious year round in high school. And so I just swam like the 100 fly, 200 free in high school, and then relays. And then in college, my coach kind of transitioned me to like 200 free, 200 IM, 2 fly, 2 back were my 4 main events. 2 IM was my favorite. I liked, being able to do all the strokes. It was kind of fun. New challenge each 50. So that was cool.
And how did that help you with your CrossFit career?
My lung capacity, learning how to breathe. It's funny because there's certain things, again, like with the pull-up thing, but just even like knowing how to like settle your heart rate down, knowing how to breathe through your nose, knowing, how to control yourself a little bit better. And I think, from swimming standpoint, you're breathing against the water. So you have that like pressure on you the whole time. So then when you get to the land, it's easier in a sense. And that was kind of the same, like when I started running right away, I was very good at running, and it wasn't because I was a good runner. It's just my lung capacity was good. Like I just had that edge that a lot of people don't think about. So, yeah.
And then what made you want to become a physical therapist?
So high school, I, had some like knee issues. And then I got into college and had some shoulder injuries just from like the repetitive motion of swimming. And so SLU was kind of worked out perfectly. Like I had some offers to go to bigger schools for swimming, but I was going to be like a JV, I guess, swimmer, which is kind of hard in swimming because you have all these, you swim all these practices, but you never go to away meets. And I was like, well, and at least like my freshman, sophomore year, I'd probably just be on the like non-travel team. And I was like, why do I really want to put all this effort in if I'm not actually going to swim at all? So I started looking around, and I was kind of thinking physical therapy, and SLU had this freshman entry program where you get in the program your freshman year, as long as you maintain a GPA and hit other requirements. Your senior year, technically you start grad school. You don't have to take the GRE. You don't have to do all those like ancillary things. And so for me, I was, kind of looking around, and they offered me a good scholarship. And I was like, well, I'm kind of thinking of doing this. And they're like, well, it's much easier to get in now, and you can get out of it if you want, rather than trying to get in later. And so I was like, well, I'll just try it, see what happens. And it ended up just being a really good fit. I enjoyed it a lot. And so actually my whole family are accountants, my mom, my dad, and both my brothers. And I was like, I knew that was not my thing. I don't like to sit all day. I like to move around. So PT kind of ended up being the perfect thing because, you're very much, up and down, and you're moving, and you're just not like a stationary person. You get to talk to people and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
So you said that your friends told you to try this new thing, and you went to the beginner class. What got you hooked?
I just liked that there was a new challenge. And so, like I said, I'd kind of gotten into like weightlifting in college, and I enjoyed, like, they taught us how to snatch and clean and jerk, and we squatted, and, you did all those things. And it was just like every year I was getting better at them, and they were giving you more cues as you got more into the program. You were, better, you could do a little more weight and stuff. So I enjoyed that part of it. And I was like, oh, there's like friends built in. I was kind of getting to that point where I knew, the swim team was great because I had built-in friends. We worked out together every day. We did all that stuff, but I knew my senior year, like a bunch of them were leaving, right? Like I was still going to be in St. Louis, but, my other friends were going off to grad school, and they were doing different things. And so I was kind of like, well, this would be nice. I kind of have a group of people to hang out with already. And then, I also get a good workout in. And so it just I was like, well, try it for the summer, see what happens. And then I was hooked.
Did you do the open after your first year of starting CrossFit?
Yeah. So I started, like I said, that end of April, beginning of May. And I had no idea what like the open was. I knew nothing. And we did like one competition in the fall, and I ended up doing like pretty well. And they're like, hey, like, do you think you'd like potentially want to think about doing a team with us. And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, what's that, And so then I kind of started to learn a little bit more. But yeah, I did the open that year. So that would be 2014, I think. That was my first open, and did pretty well. I kind of surprised myself. I didn't realize, like, I don't mean to sound like cocky about this, but I didn't realize like how good I was. You know what I mean? Like I was not great.
Compare it. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I was working out with people at our gym, like the women were all better than me, at least like 2 or 3 of them were like eons better than me. And so for me, it was like, oh, like I'm actually kind of good at this. Like when you compare the North Central region at the time and stuff.
So did you were on that team in 2014?
Yeah, I ended up, so that was the year that you had to have people that could do muscle ups. You had a penalty if the girl, well, I guess girls or guys, but if they couldn't complete the muscle ups. And then they also introduced a handstand walking and strict handstand push-ups. And those were skills. I mean, I wasn't good at them, but there was definitely another girl or 2 girls that were better than me overall, but they couldn't do those things, or they couldn't do one of those things. And so I kind of just lucked into this like spot because, I mean, obviously I was good, but I wasn't as strong. I wasn't as good on like the machines, double unders. Oh my gosh. I remember there was like 125 double unders in one of the regional workouts. So like things like that, I wasn't as good at, but I could do all those things. Whereas they would have gotten capped on workouts if it had, you know what I mean? If I was not on the team. So.
And that team finished 4th in the
yeah, we did. Yeah. It was kind of crazy. And again, I didn't realize like how big the games were and stuff. And like each day they're like, we're like in contention for this. And then like, Friday you're like, oh, we're kind of sitting there. Saturday we're like getting closer. And then Sunday it was like, oh my gosh, like this could actually happen. But I had no concept of that at the time. Like it was all like, oh, la, la, la,
Yeah.
So it was kind of perfect scenario for me, but yeah, it was weird.
So you guys made the games? Like I can't remember what the cutoff was.
No, it was top 3.
Okay.
Top 3 made it. Yeah. So we were 1 out. And I think, cause that's how they used to do the points, where it was like, you got 1 point for first place, 2 for second, 3 for third. And then the next year they switched it and they did like the 100, 95, 90, like that. And I think someone went back the next year, and I think we would have actually qualified in the top 3 had they done the points that way. So kind of interesting, but.
Yeah. But a nice, and that was 6-person team.
Yeah.
And your really first experience at regionals.
Oh yeah.
So I see that you made regionals in 16 as an individual. What happened in that 15 year?
So that was the year that I was traveling for clinicals. So for PT, I had like 40 weeks of clinical education that I had to complete within. It was kind of in like a year and a half, but that spring I was actually in, where was I was in Champaign, Illinois, and then Kansas City. And I was actually like planning on being on our team again. We still had all the same like women and men. And it came like literally like a week before the open. CrossFit sent me an email and said that we've like heard a rumor you're not allowed to compete on your team. And I was like, what? Like, I have no idea. And so it ended up being that there's like a rule in the rule book at the time that if you're not training 100 or 50% at your gym, you couldn't be on a team, which we had no idea. And even though my address, was St. Louis and everything, I wasn't in St. Louis. So, they're like, well, you can be on under your gym's like affiliate, but you can't be on the gym's team. So I wasn't able to be on the gym's team. And actually that year too, like, which was devastating to me because we had the whole year, we're like, oh, we were so close last year. We've, got a chance this year to make the games. And really like, I was a much better, well-rounded athlete and stuff. And, for them, it sucked because without me, there was no way they were going to make the games. And obviously for me, it sucked because I just had to be a spectator that year. Obviously I went and tried to make individual then, but I think like 55th or something. And that was the year that top 40 made, or I don't know, whatever it was, but it wasn't good enough. So,
yeah. So then in 16, you start your individual run.
Mm-hmm.
And you did pretty well in your first individual regional.
Yeah. Surprised myself. That was, you have like those experiences, 16, again, I was kind of just like, you know, Bambi out there. And I remember the first day I actually ended up fourth, and they had that strict muscle up workout, and I just was good at those for some reason. And I was like, oh, like I can play with like the big girls, you know, and like at that point I'm a few years in, and like Brooke Wells and Christy Aramo and like all these names I'm competing against them, you know, and Julie Fouché had retired the year before, but the second and third days, like I was in a lane right next to her, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, you know, it's kind of like a little starstruck, but also enjoying every moment. And, you know, that was my year to have fun. I said, like, you know, I could go and enjoy it and see what it's about. And then 2017, I was like, okay, now it's time to be serious. Like I really actually want to make the games. So.
But something happened in 2017.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened.
I actually, like, leading up to regionals, I felt really, really good. And I was super excited. There was no barbell. I'm just good at the odd objects, like the dumbbells, all of that stuff is really good for me. But about like 2 or 3 weeks before regionals, I started having like severe like shoulder pain with any like, so barbell front squats hurt. Just like weird movements started to bother me. And, you know, just ignored it. I was like, I just gotta get through regionals to be fine. You know, and of course, being a physical therapist, I'm like, I'll just do some exercises. It'll be fine. Just keep the rotator cuff strong, do all these things. But then unfortunately, when I got to regionals, day one, I remember that was a workout with the weight vest and chest to bar. And I like could not hold on. My left arm, just like my grip was going the whole time. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. It was super weird. You know, it made it through day one, not where I wanted to be. I was like, maybe like 18th. And I was like, gosh, like these were both really good workouts for me. When I tested them, they were so much faster. And then I was warming up on day 2, and that was when the rope climbs, and I went up, climbed the rope, and I was warming up, thankfully. And when I came down, I just had like searing pain in my shoulder. And I mean, awful. And I was like, my boyfriend was, you know, coaching me, and he's like, well, we had those heavy kettlebell deadlifts later. He's like, go try to pick those up. Cause he's like, there's no point in trying to do this workout. Cause I was like, I think I can get through this workout. It was enough. I thought I could kind of keep it on my, you know, right side. It'd be okay. But he's like, there's no point in trying if you can't pick up those kettlebells. And I tried to pick up the 35s, and there was no way that I was going to be able to pick up the 104 or whatever pound kettlebells. So, you know, again, being a, you know, strong-headed PT, I was like, well, I'll just try to rehab it for a while, and was getting no better. So I finally went to the doctor like 2 weeks later, and sure enough, I had like completely fractured my first rib. So it was like a nice like split. And he's like, well, you're lucky you didn't, you know, puncture a lung and all these things. And he's like, you can't use your arm for the next, I don't know, 2 months. And he's like, we got to try to let it heal. Which is like, he's, you know, the questions they ask, were you in an accident? Were you in, you know, anything? Like a lot of times it's like a seatbelt injury, I guess, like with a car accident. But then you start like researching it, and the 2 people that they see it in, athletes, are gymnasts and weightlifters. So it's like, well, it's kind of crossed it right there for you. Yeah. So yeah, that was a hard summer. Just like, you know, like I said, I was so like, oh, I want to go to the games. I feel so ready for it. And I couldn't do anything. So, and I couldn't even, I mean, I don't know if you've broken a rib before, but you can't really elevate your heart rate that much because you start to breathe heavy, and it hurts. Like it just hurts. So I was sitting on an assault bike, going about, I don't know, keeping my heart rate under 100, basically. That's all I could do. It was hard.
So in 18, you come back in a very stacked Central Regional, very stacked.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And that's where we met. And I must have given you some motivational talk because you came in.
All positive vibes for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And you did really, really well. Ended up finishing 7th behind the likes of Jessica Griffith, Brooke Wells, Christy Aramo. Stacked.
Yeah.
So what was that like to be that close and know that you could hang with some of the biggest names in the sport? You
know, like I said, the whole injury in 2017, I mean, I worked hard, but I worked differently that year. Like going into 2018, I knew I had to cut back my volume because I was working. I mean, I'm still working full time, but I was working full time and I was trying to do programming for full-time athletes. I was trying to get everything in, and I was doing stuff before and after work, and it just wasn't working. Obviously I got injured. I had the realization, I was like, I just have to train smarter, not harder, So I just changed how I looked at programming, and I really like, what do I need to work on? What stuff needs to be addressed? And then, can I change this workout and make it just an EMOM, like a 10-minute EMOM to get the skills in still, but not do that. So, going into that year, I was kind of up in the air. I didn't know what exactly was going to happen. I knew I was very well prepared. I knew I was in great shape. But you just always have those doubts in the back of your mind, especially coming off an injury. You have a disappointing year and then you change everything. And I was like, well, maybe I'm just meant to be like, an average athlete, not average, but whatever. And it was good though for me. Like I was still super hungry, and I was like, I'm just going to go. I didn't have any pressure on me, which was kind of nice. You're just like, I'm just going to go and see what happens. Like I'm going to give them hell. And, thankfully, like I said, that first workout was awesome for me. And I knew the row and double unders would be slow, but I just kept chipping away people on the run. And so then it was like, after that workout, I was like, let's go. Like, this is awesome. And like I said, no pressure, which was, you don't have that very often. Everyone else, all those athletes above me, they're expected to do really well. And I'm not. Like, no one expected me to do well. And all of a sudden they're like calling my name on, winning heats and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, this is awesome. So, yeah. But yeah, it was a weird year from that standpoint, but it was good to kind of have that moment where I was like, I'm just here to do this for myself and see what happens.
But then in 2019, you go to Wadapalooza, and punch your ticket to go to the games as an individual athlete. What was your mind like, or what was that feeling like in Wadapalooza when you realized that you'd punched the ticket? So
I actually didn't get my invite until June. And I had no clue that I was even on the radar from Wadapalooza until the Open. I think Morning Chalk Up wrote an article because the season was so confusing that year. So I was like, you know what? I was like, after 2018, I was like, I'm just going to try a few sanctionals. Yeah, that's what they were called. So many different words. I'm going to try a few sanctionals, see what happens. I mean, I honestly was like, I can't make the games. Like, it's too, all these sanctionals, you're going to have these big named athletes going, like, it's just not going to work out. Especially before the Open. And then when you started realizing how the Open, like, all those top athletes from the countries are getting a spot. So like, Tia wasn't taking a top 20 spot. She was taking Australia's spot. And so then you're kind of like, oh, well, maybe. And I think Morning Chalk Up after like the third week posted something that was like, if the leaderboard stays as it is, these are who will get the invites from the semifinal or sanctionals. And like my name was on there and I was like, what? I was like, I had no clue. So then, I knew I wasn't going to get through the Open. I wasn't strong enough at the time. And so I was like, and then I'm just like focused, like, solely on the performance of like two other athletes. And it was like, it's a weird year. Cause I was like, I think the clean was like pretty early. And so I was like, I'm out already. Like, it's fine. But then I'm like, just watching two other athletes the whole time. Like, please, please get through in the Open. And it ended up that it was Colleen Fosh that was ahead of me. And I think she was like 6th at Wadapalooza. And she didn't make it through the Open, but then maybe like Tasia or something was going team. And so, I'm like looking at it for a while, and I reached out to Tasia. I was like, hey, I was lined up to go to Australia and somewhere else for sanctionals. And I just reached out to her and I was like, hey, like, I have the potential to get a game spot. I just want to make sure that you're going team, you're not changing your mind. Because I'm going to cancel those trips, so that way I can actually like take time for the games. And, working full time, you have limited PTO and you're just like trying to like fit all the pieces together. So she messaged me back. She's like, yeah, she's like 100%, go on team, good luck at the games. She's like super nice. So yeah, that was, I kind of knew like the end of April I was getting the invite, but I still was like sitting there waiting and just like, it's like never official till it's official. So it was hard.
And what was that experience like to get to the games? And it was a crazy year. I mean, there were a lot of people.
it was a ton of fun. It was really cool. I definitely made some mistakes on the first workout. And it sucks because it's a learning experience and it's things that you'll never do again. I failed. Well, I didn't touch the crossbar. My judge didn't see me touch it. I touched it, but I was on the inside. She was on the outside of the rig and she didn't see me touch it. And so I got a no rep on a rope climb, one of the legless ones. And that was the first round. And I just jumped up and did a second one, and I was like, fine, no big deal. And then round two, those ropes are tall. They're taller than you're used to. You get no jump off the pad. It's hot. That field is so hot. You learn all these things and you're just out there. Round two, I paid dearly for doing that rope climb. And if I would have waited a minute, and just took my time and not jump right back up to try to get it, could have been a totally different workout. So, I think I ended that workout in 60 something. So I made the cut. Top 75 made the cut. And that was hard, sitting on the bleachers, waiting for them to call your name. How they did the cuts that year was just it was kind of inhumane in a sense. And so thankfully I made the first one, but then I knew the second one, I was like, the only way I'm going to make it through is if I, get in the top 20 in this workout. And it wasn't a bad workout for me, rowing, shoulder overhead and handstand walk, but I knew I had to push the handstand. I knew I had to push the whole thing. There was no opportunity to waste time. So I ended up failing one of the handstand walks. Again, something that you just don't even think about. You always do handstand walks in a gym floor, right? You've got stall mats, so you can see how many steps or where you're at, or you got markers on the thing. I was in the middle of the lane in a green field and I had no idea how far I'd gone. And I think I was 2 feet from the line. And you're just I came down and I was just oh my gosh, I was so close. So I ended up getting cut after the first day. I think I ended 60th in the world, which, for, what it was good, but it was kind of a heartbreaking experience that I just didn't, I worked so hard that summer and I prepared so well. And I just felt like making mistakes is what ended my games, not my fitness. And that kind of sucked. So.
At what point did you join the comp train team?
I probably started doing comp train in 2016, the August of 2016. And then I followed them through really until I got invited to be on Mayhem. So that was.
And at what point, you started showing up in videos with that crew,
mm-hmm.
On YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
And because I was like, hey, that's the girl that I.
Yeah. So that year they did the open in the fall. That was, I guess, for the 2020 open. And right at the beginning of the workout, Kristen Miller, actually, so she's from Illinois, she's from Chicago. And I'd done some local comps over the years and been around her, talked to her, but never super close. But she reached out to me on Instagram and was like, hey, we're looking for a, second girl on Independence. It's Chase, Royce, myself, the year before they had Ellie. And then she unfortunately popped. And so they didn't have a stable girl. They were kind of switching someone out every competition they were doing. And it just, they're like, we just want someone that's going to be steady, that's going to, want to train with us, all these things. And so I was like, well, but she's like, do you want to come down and just see what Mayhem's about and see if you want to be part of it? And I was like, who doesn't say yes to that opportunity? So even just, go test it out. And I still was after 2019, I was like, oh, I need my revenge. I want to go back in 2020. And I was like, this might be a better way, take some stress off me. You just change the game a little bit. So I went down there, I think, and right after the open finished, they're like, don't come before the open, do your open workouts. And then, once, I think, just trying to add a new face to the game, they were like, let's just wait till after the open. So went there and I showed up and they're like, hey, we're going to do this qualifier for Australia CrossFit Championships. You want to you're good to go? And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm part of the team. So, yeah.
So you did comp train right up until they invited you to Mayhem.
Yep.
You talked about earlier about you were doing too much volume.
Mm-hmm.
And Mayhem is kind of known as the high volume programming.
Yes.
So how did you make that adjustment to the Mayhem program, or did you have to change it, modify it, scale it?
So, cause I had that conversation with Kristen when I was there. That was Kristen and Tasia. And I was like, you guys do a lot. I was like, I can't do that. Like, is it required for me, to be a part of this team? Do I have to do all this stuff? Do I need to, do this? And they're like, honestly, no. They're like, you do what's you. And Tasia's like, I've been taking some stuff out. Kristen's like, my elbows hurt, so I don't do this at times. And they're like, it's really just how the programming works for you. And I found, yes, I still modify it to this day. I modify the crap out of it. Like I have an hour and 15 minutes to maybe 2 hours tops. 2 hours, maybe twice a week, and everything else is like hour and 15 to hour 30 minutes at the gym. So it's not a lot of time. But I tried to make the best of that. And I'm very anal. I write everything down at the beginning of the week. And then, Mayhem may do like 2 chest to bar workouts on Monday, Tuesday. They're different stimulus, but you're still getting the same workout in, right? So, or the same movement in. So I've puzzle piece it together. And then I do a lot of like, skill EMOMs. So, work on doing big sets of muscle ups. And honestly, the thing too, when I was training with them is they taught me how to be a team athlete, so individuals, everything is reliant on you, but you have to figure out like, oh, I have 50 muscle ups. I'm going to do them in sets of 5. Right. But if you have 50 muscle ups as a team, you may do a set of 20 and then the next person does 15, 10, whatever, so you kind of have to learn. And so I changed my training that way as well. And that kind of actually made the volume a little bit more manageable because I could look at it differently. I could be like, oh, I just need to work on big sets of muscle ups this week, or they program so much handstand walking. My handstand walking got significantly better, like all of those kind of things where, but they probably do, I don't know, at least 500 feet of handstand walk, if not 1,000 feet of handstand walk a week. And so I was like, well, if I just get 500 and that's way better than the 200 I've been doing, so stuff like that, I could kind of like play with a little bit. So.
And I actually talked to Royce on Saturday, and he said that team was the most fun
oh my gosh
he's ever had in CrossFit. Like it just was a really cool group to be around, and especially when you guys came to Australia.
Yeah.
But I asked him like what his fitness level did after he started working with Rich and the programming, and he said it incrementally went up.
Yes. They're just, and it's not like Rich is sitting there telling you what to do, but if you are there and you're watching and you're paying attention to how they move and how they program is actually, a lot of times it's like you go, I go, or it's rest 1-to-1. So, I couldn't finish a workout and, Rich is going to go a minute later because he's already had his 4 minutes rest or whatever, so it's like, then I can sit there and watch him for the next 4 minutes. So it's really, you just have to be a sponge. Anytime you're in Cookeville, like you have to be a sponge and make sure that you're paying attention to everything because there's just so much to learn if you want to take it in, which is pretty cool. But that team, we just gelled so well together. Easiest team to get along with. Everybody was willing to do whatever. Don't get me wrong. I loved this past year in 2021 with Blue City, but everybody could do everything so well. And that helps when you just like, you don't have to think about like, oh, you might struggle on that. So we need to sub someone out here or, things like that. Like everybody like be like, oh, you're going to do, 15 muscle ups. That cool. It's like, yeah. Okay. Like, it just was very, very easy. And there was no egos on the team. I think that was the 4 of us are all very much, we just do it for the love of it. We're not making, Royce might be making a living, but the rest of us, we're not making a living off of it. We're just doing it because we love it and get along so well. And all of our, significant others traveled with us. And we had the 8 of us there for the whole, we were there for like 2 weeks and we just had a blast. Like everything, we're laughing and, it was so much fun. It was awesome.
Yeah, he said it was the ultimate trip for you guys to come over because it was right before COVID. You guys got to get it in before that happened. And you not only won that competition, but then you got to spend like an extra week just being tourists and having fun as a group.
Yeah. And that was so nice. It was nice that Royce knew Australia too. So we could be like, hey, what do you think about doing this or this? And he'd be like, oh, you guys should do this, this, and this. And we're like, oh yeah, good call. So it was nice having kind of a built-in tour guide too. And just having that, like I said, everybody, it was so easy to get along with those people. It was so nice. You don't run into that very often. So the fact that everyone just, was there for the love of it was really cool.
So we mentioned the big C word, COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it derailed your 2020 with the teams getting eliminated, but you also work in the medical world. And so what dynamic happened for you? Were you in the hospital more often? Were you doing more stuff because of it? Or is PT a little bit different?
So I actually I'm an outpatient physical therapist. So I am not in the hospital. We have a standalone clinic. It just, this amount of stress went up significantly. So at first, we all kind of thought it was a joke, like to an extent, we're like, oh my gosh, we're like overreacting. But then it got to the point where like St. Louis very quickly canceled all elective surgeries. So any knee replacement, rotator cuff repair, all of the like ACL, like all of those surgeries were canceled. And then because St. Louis is there's a lot of counties that come to St. Louis. So like, it's a big hub. So they canceled everything. And then the orthopedic doctors were actually not seeing any patients besides emergencies. So like I had one guy that tore his hamstring like completely off the bone. So like he had surgery and he was that guy's only case for, like 2 months. I mean, just insane. The doctor was like, oh, it's exciting to see somebody, but they were just waiting to potentially use outpatient surgery places for COVID patients. And then the doctors were being called into the hospital, the orthopedic doctors, to help with staffing issues there. So pretty quickly it became like I was worried about my job, which I think a lot of people were. We just didn't know what was going to happen. And we were, seeing our patients like we're outpatient. So if people hadn't really come for a surgery, like they hadn't had, their ACL repaired or something, they weren't coming back. And then we're like trying to switch to, telehealth, and it's just not the same. Like my first telehealth patient was an evaluation for a balance, a 70-year-old person that kept falling. And I was like, how am I going to do that through a video? Like there's no way. Like a balance patient, I have my hands on the whole time so I don't fall. And so, we just were having a lot of issues, and then the stress of like cleaning everything. At the time they didn't know if it was contact spread or, airborne. And so anything anyone touched, we would clean. We got rid of all of our ancillary staff. So I had to learn how to do all the front office stuff, which I tried to ignore before that because I didn't want to know how to do it. I can do it all now, unfortunately. So, it was one of those things where just the stress level went up significantly. And I see we have 10 therapists at my clinic. We furloughed 4. And so then we kind of had like an influx of patients because we were taking everyone else's patients. And we were seeing, I was like, I'm seeing like 10 people a day. That's 10 chances for me to get COVID, and you don't know all the things behind it and stuff. And my boyfriend is like, do we, what kind of protocols we need to do at home, and all those things. Just because, he was working from home, but, he's like, you come home every night and you see, a gajillion people a day, like what's the odds of something happening? So, it's still stressful, but it was very stressful last year. So.
And in addition to that, the gym's closed. Mm-hmm. Did you have a place to work out?
Yeah. So we're lucky. We have a garage gym. We actually built a rig in our backyard. So we've got, the neighbors must think we're nuts, but it's fine. We've got we have a rope and we have 2 bars that we can use and stuff. And actually it's funny, Kristen Miller, her boyfriend asked for the specs so he could build her one as well. So, we were lucky. We did that. And I had like 2 or 3 girls that would come and train. Like we trained together anyways. And we would come and train. But at first it was kind of like, I was like, well, I'll just like stay over here because they were working from home. So I was like, I'll just stay over here and we'll kind of like, stay in our bubbles. And then it was kind of eventually like, they're like, oh, you can have like, 10 people in your bubble. And I was like, well, this is our bubble. Like we're not,
Yeah.
So thankfully we had that. I don't know what I would have done without that. My therapy is working out. You know what I mean? Like I get that high off of it. I need that adrenaline. It doesn't have to be hard, but I need something. And so the fact that we just had equipment, and if I had a bad day, I could just go out and like ride a bike for like 30 minutes and clear my head and, blare some music and whatever, like I'm so glad that I had that, because I think I would have really gone crazy without some sort of gym equipment. So
Yeah. So then the next season comes and they change the rules
again. Yeah.
And like Roy said, being 40,000 miles away doesn't make it conducive anymore. I can't be on the Mayhem team. So I'm sure the same thing is not as far, but you're now not allowed on that team. So at what point did you realize that you had a team at Blue City and that you had a shot to qualify for at least the semifinals?
So we have one of the guys the guy that owns our gym, Stephen Wallace. Like I've trained with him or been around him for years. And so I knew like we had him and I that would make, good team athletes for sure. But we really have, we have, a couple girls, a couple other guys. We probably have like 8 guys that are, all kind of like, who's going to pull through, And so I mentioned to him, like the second that like we were kind of holding out, like we kind of knew that it was going to, like, there was rumors of what the team was going to be and it was going to be affiliate. But we kind of were like holding out until like until they actually announced it. And so I think that might've been like the beginning of January, and Royce finally texted us and he's like, well, this sucks, guys. He's like, I would have loved like another go around, we just didn't get to put, the finishing touches on the season, which sucks because we had so many, everyone did, we had so many plans, and I really think that we would have done amazing at the games. But we just didn't get that opportunity. So he texted us and we were all kind of like, yeah, like, we had a great run. Maybe sometime in the future we can do it again, but it's not in the cards, And so after that, I was like to Steve, I was like, hey, what if we just try? I was like, I know there's like individual semifinals and team, but it says you don't have to choose. They put the rule book out, you don't have to choose one, you can do both. And, I was like, I'll probably still do individual semifinals, but if, we make a team, I will go team. It's like, if we get a team to semifinals, I'll do it 100%. Because it was just such an awesome, like, I just had such a good experience with Mayhem that I was like, why not? Like, why not just try it again, see what happens? And like I said, I was still going to do the individual semifinals because, we were dealing with some injuries. We didn't know how it was going to play out. And I was like, if whatever, if we don't make a team, I'll go individual and just do that. Like, I'm still training hard. I'm still doing all of it. So why not? And then just kind of as the season progressed, like, we did really well in the open. We did really well, like quarterfinals. I think we were like, 20th. And then all of a sudden it was like, all right, like it's go time. Like, we have to be super serious about this now. We can't mess around. And, so it just kind of, honestly for me, I was like 90% committed to team, but I wasn't 100% committed to team until after quarterfinals. And then I was like, okay. Cause I also don't want to be on a team that's going to go and get 15th at semifinals. Like I'm past that. Like I want to go and compete. And if I don't have a team that can compete, it's not fun to me. And so, after quarterfinals, I was like, all right, this is our shot. Let's go. So, and
who knew it was going to work out so well by doing individual quarterfinals? You had already practiced for the team quarterfinals.
I know, right? And, and so that's actually what we did, because like I said, we had a lot of guys that were vying for a spot, and it really came down to just one girl, because our other girl got injured. She already had a meniscus issue, but it was not getting any better. So she was kind of headed for the surgery road. But for the guys, they didn't have to sign up, but we had them all do the individual quarterfinal workouts, and we just like pulled the scores from that. And then 2 weeks later, when they announced the team, we're like, well, this is perfect. Like, we already know it. So, and it was, that was good. Like, everybody, next year, if we somehow go team again, I'll do the same thing. I don't know if I'll sign up for individual, but I will do the workouts, because you learn so much from it. And it definitely made us better for team quarters.
So the next question I have is your role. Like, on the Mayhem team, you had 4 seasoned CrossFit athletes together. Yeah. Right. And with Blue City, that wasn't the case. So your role kind of changed and you became more of a leader. Mm-hmm. How did that work for you?
On Mayhem, like you said, we were all, everyone, we were just a cohesive unit. Like, whatever was said, like someone might have an idea and we're like, that's good, that's bad. It was just easy. Mayhem, or with Blue City, I had to step up, and that was a conversation between my boyfriend / coach, like, he's like, if you want to do this, like, you have to lead this team. Like, the Mara, who was the other girl on our team, she was already following me anyways. We would do, train together all the time. And she's like a sponge. You, like, tell her something, or she asks you something and she absorbs everything. And so she was like already kind of, learning from that standpoint. But Steve was the biggest issue. And I love Steve to death, but he has always been an individual athlete. Like, and he's a super strong. So he always has that one moment where he can flex, he can do something crazy and everyone's like in awe of what he does, because it's insane. Sometimes I don't even realize how big of a deal it is till we go to a competition and he like blows everybody away by like 50 pounds. You're like, oh my gosh, like, that's insane. But he has always kind of been in that individual mindset. And I knew he was going to be our biggest, not issue, but he was going to be the one that took the most work. And so, I started planting seeds in his head in like February. I was like, hey, so if this was a team workout, this is how we would do it. Hey, if you want to do, this workout with 40 bar muscle ups in it, try it 15, 15, 10, right? And you're going to rest more and, start things like that. Or then we would, like, in the open, I was like, hey, we've got this setup, but then you have to think about, like, I want you to think about the next person's setup. Right. And so, like, just trying to like make him realize that, and it was never like it never showed more than at semifinals. And he, like, there's just like a few moments, like on the ruck run, I died at after the horn blew, the thing was over. I like collapsed and he turned around and came and picked me up and like helped me back to the finish line. And then, the biggest thing was, he hit a 385 clean and jerk, insane, and celebrated for a second. And then literally was like, okay, Chris, what weights do we need on the bar? And I was like, team athlete, we've got it. Like, we're good to go. So that was, I just had to think about things more, which was okay. Like, it challenged me too. And it was fun. It made it so much more worth it when you get to that point and you've put all this work in and you're like, oh my gosh, like, we actually are a team. So it's cool.
You're on mute.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. What's funny, my dog is barking, so that's why I keep muting. What's funny is you were on a team with Royce, who is one of the strongest guys in CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I think the only upgrade you could have made was to Steven.
I know. Steve is just insane. Like, it's crazy.
So when you were at West Coast, I was in the media room, and the buzz about that clean and jerk workout was going ballistic, because everybody's like, he's going to put 400 on the bar.
Yeah, that was the plan.
and it was like, everybody was getting goosebumps. Like, I cannot wait to see this. And it was like erupting in the back room. And then when we got out there, you could just tell, like, that ruck run took more out of you guys than you thought.
Yes, for sure. And we didn't have much turnaround time. We had, I think it was like an hour and a half or like 2 hours. That was not enough time. If they wanted, it's funny, if you look at the other semifinal workouts or semifinal competitions, every strength event is the first event. You know what I mean? Like Granite Games and the MAC, like, they did the clean was the first event, the snatch was the first event, because they wanted to put on a show. And, not that Wodapalooza just did it different, which is totally fine, but you're going to have effects from the rest of the weekend. So that's unfortunately what happened. But still, to put up 385 after doing a 4-mile ruck, a miserable 4-mile ruck.
The competition record was only 2 pounds more than that.
I know.
And so for him to hit that after that ruck run is so impressive. Yeah,
it was, like I said, it's like I said, it's funny. I just don't realize how good it is sometimes. And then, like, we get there and I'm like, damn. So yeah.
So this year going to the games might have been a little bit different for you, because your boyfriend got to go as well.
He did. That was awesome. It was so cool. Which, at first we're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? And then they kind of came out and they, like, put masters first and then teams on the weekend and stuff. So it actually worked out really well. I missed one workout of his, and he missed one workout of ours, and that was it. So that was really good that we actually were able to be together. And, it was weird because we decided, like, I couldn't be his coach. It was just going to be too much. And, like, when you have an individual athlete, even teams, people are, schlepping your bags to and from, and they're making sure you're fed and all that. And even still, like, the first 2 days, I stayed out of the back area and let his buddy help coach him and take care of him and stuff. And I still walked like 6-7 miles each day. And that was just me like going back and forth and doing stuff. And I was like, there's just no way I could have done coaching on top of that, So I'm glad that it was nice that Wednesday he was done after that swim event. And so we were able to go back to the house relatively early and get ready for Thursday.
So did it add more stress to you, or did it relieve some of the stress because you were distracted?
Probably took some away. It's a different stress. You know what I mean? I was nervous for him, but I wasn't nervous about myself. Like I didn't really let myself turn on games, like official games mode until like we went Wednesday, we went swim and kayak. They took us over to the other venue. And that's when I was like, okay, now it's go time. But until that point, I was just nervous for him and I just wanted him to do well and be able to show off, what he had been working so hard for. So it's kind of nice.
So what were your expectations coming in? Because you said it yourself, you didn't even know if you were going to put together a team until you kind of saw how quarterfinals went. Mm-hmm. What were the expectations for the team this year?
Lofty goal was top 10. I really, at first I kind of thought we might have a chance of that, but then I was like, there's like a lot of, very good athletes. So ultimately top 20, especially when they came out with cuts, I really was hoping we'd be top 20. And I thought, honestly, we had the potential to do that. You just, unfortunately, like I said, I made all my mistakes in 2019 on the games floor and we just had, inexperience. Mara, her first big competition was semifinals. Like besides that, she'd only ever done local competitions. So she had, no idea. And same thing with Chris, really. He's done Wadapalooza with like a team of 3 before, but nothing like crazy big. So, you're just going to have rookie mistakes and that's just what you have to accept. And, after the first event, the swim and kayak, I knew I was going to do well in that event. Like that's right down my alley. And I think Mara and I were out of the water like 5th. And the guys just, they did well for themselves. But I just had to realize this isn't, I was upset because we ended up 32nd. And I was like, gosh, I got out of the water first, all these things. And I was like, I had to take a second and be like, this isn't about me. This is about the team. And I have to be proud that Chris was so nervous to swim and he was able to get through the swim, only grabbing onto a kayak once, and Steve didn't grab onto a kayak at all. And he's done Wadapalooza 3 times he's been pulled out of the water. And that water was so choppy on Thursday morning because it stormed the night before and he made it all the way through. We worked so hard to get both of them where they were. And the fact that they made it through that was incredible, and so, like I said, I had these goals and I had to not change them, but I had to realize they weren't just my goals. It was like a team goal, and I had to realize that it wasn't about me. It was about what the team could do and how proud could I be of everybody and not just myself. So, I'm honestly, I walked away from this season extremely happy with what we did. Obviously you always want to do better and you're always like, oh, it would have been great to be top 20 or top 10. It would have been great to be top 20 to touch a worm. But I walked away and I was like, we did the best that we could possibly do. We made some mistakes, but I can't walk away upset because everybody gave it 100%. And it was so much fun. We had a blast. We had a great crew up there. If this unfortunately happens to be my last year, I'm okay with that. I am happy. I'm still hungry. I still want to do better. But it was a great year. I can't be upset. So.
Well, you're not Kristen Holta-ing us, are you?
No,
No.
no. So our girl Mara moved to Florida. Her husband just graduated his PhD from SLU and super specific job. So really can only get a job like Florida, Colorado. So they moved there. So we have some retooling. And I don't know about Chris yet, but I think he's 37, about to be 38. So, his body is beat from the summer. You train really hard for the games. And so, see what he wants to do. And we have more guys for sure. We have to find another girl. Like I said, I'm still going to train. I'm still going to do everything. If we have a team, I will 100% go team. I might try individual, but that's a backup plan, and just see what goes. I feel I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm content, but I'd always do more. Like there's never, I don't know. It's hard to say like, I don't want to retire. I don't want to retire. And if I, happen to get pregnant and have a kid, like if I'm able to, I still want to come back. Like, I don't think I'll ever walk away from the sport because I love it. Like, even if I'm just doing it as a class, like that's 100% fine with me. But I'm so damn competitive. Like I need that. And I thrive on that. And I want to be the best. Like I want to be the best that I can be. And I want to go compete with the best. So I'm not, no retiring. Might just life change, but no retiring.
So you're branching out into the realm of media by doing a podcast and a video blog. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the video blog needs some work. That we started that like right after team quarterfinals, and thought it was going to be fabulous. And honestly, like it just became so overwhelming. So that's actually kind of coming to the forefront. We're going to try to start doing some more with that. We've got some ideas, and I know you've met Teddy, and he's a mastermind behind it all. Like he knows all this stuff, and I'm learning, and it's learning how to edit videos and do all this stuff. But he can do it really well. So that's hopefully we kind of get that YouTube up and running here the next couple of weeks. We've got some things cooking for that. But then, Teddy also started a podcast, and I have become a regular co-host, I guess, Blue City CrossFit show. And honestly, right now we've just, we've recapped our season, and I think from a standpoint of our members have loved it. But we want to start, not everyone can be there, and not everyone can learn the behind the scenes stuff. And so being able to talk about all that and have an outlet for them to go listen to it has been really cool. And, then they'll come to class and be like, hey, I heard you talk about event 6 at the games, whatever. And you can have that conversation. So that's pretty cool. Especially like our gym has been so supportive, and no matter what it's been, they've been awesome. So it's cool to kind of give them that. But we've started to kind of figure out what's next with the podcast, because we want to continue to grow it. And I love it. I think it's fun. Like it's just, like this, it's like a normal conversation. You don't feel, I don't know. It's cool to get to learn about people and different things. So
that's why we do it.
Yeah.
Love to hear stories, love to learn about people.
Yeah.
I'm just going to finish up with one last question.
Mm-hmm.
You are a self-professed cat lover.
Yeah.
And so how many cats do you have?
I have 2 cats. My grandma brought me my first one as a housewarming gift. She brought me a little kitten. I'm allergic. She knows that. So that was how we got the first one. And about like 6 months later, my boyfriend's like, I just feel so bad for this cat. She, she's always home by herself during the day when we're working. And I think we need to get another cat. And he was actually out of town when my grandma brought me this kitten, and I like told him, and I was like, I knew he hated cats. And he's like, I hate cats. I'm never going to stay at your house ever. Like, I don't want to be around. Like, you're going to just come to my house, like for dinner. Like, that's it. Not doing the cat thing. And then sees the kitten, and it's like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. So he's a cat lover too now. He loves our cats. He doesn't, maybe not the other cats, but that's fine. Just gotta like mine. It's good. So then we got the second one like 7 months later. So, and they, they're my babies right now. So they snuggle up. They're great snuggle buds, and they kind of act like dogs. So that's nice. They like people, and they, want to come see what's going on. So it's good.
And their names?
Millie is the orange one. You'll probably see a lot of both of them on my Instagram. And Kona is the black one. So Millie is, they're aptly named. Millie is very much grandma-like. So sometimes, so I am a grandma when it comes to going to bed. I like to go to bed at 9:30. And she, about 9:15, she sits in the hallway and looks at you on the couch. And if you get up, she walks into the bedroom. She just waits for you to go in the bedroom. So she's my grandma cat. And then Kona, the black one, is super active and loves to be, outside. And we have a screen-in porch, and she'll go sit out there. And so she's my little outdoors adventure cat. Thinks everyone's her best friend, which is good and bad. So,
Yeah, my dog does the same thing. At 9:30, he goes over to the foot of the steps and sits there like, hey, come on, guys, time to go to bed.
It's like, you're not getting what I'm doing here.
That's very cool. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Got to know a lot about you, and that was really cool. And good luck in the future. I'm sure we'll run into each other throughout.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All the competitions and stuff.
Like I said, I'll be around, and I know Matt's trying to do some more Masters stuff. So yeah, I'm sure I'll see you around for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
No problem.